It's a sunny morning here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. It's 28 degrees right here. Well, thank you for staying with us. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. It is the 25th day in the month of February 2025, and it is 33 degrees here in Lagos. And talking about Lagos, Maokwe, let me quickly take you around. You haven't been to town in a while, except when you visit. So let me just take you to the Expressway. Well, of course, you know the way you like to call it. But this is what it looks like. Even though we are hearing some rumors about something happening at certain portions of the road, you can be sure that it is always a beauty to behold. And Maokwe, you would remember the stories we have told about this particular expressway and the very many times that you've had to do one thing or the other, applied this route so many times. I recall my days as well, applying this particular road, going between Mushi and Festa Town. Well, that's another kettle of fish altogether. But this road is a lifesaver. It's literally an economic nerve center because it connects the Apapa harbor to Nigeria, so to speak, to the different parts of the country, because through Oshodi, you go to Bagada, go to Third Mainland Bridge, go to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, in situations where you have to take things by road through various parts of the country. But the beauty of this skyline, Maokwe, never gets old. What do you think?
Indeed, it never gets old looking at a live wire. This road is akin to a live wire. I mean, without Apapa Oshodi Expressway, well, with the business of importers and exporters be, especially those who have to use the Apapa port. I can certainly tell you that indeed, I sincerely hope that the experience of those who are driving on that road this morning will be as smooth as we're currently seeing it on TV. But I do hope that that it's just as smooth as we're currently witnessing. But I do hear that there have been plans to make it a lot easier for those who have to take their goods out of Lagos, especially through the Apapa port, by using the rail. So only recently, the rail line coming out of Apapa, going all the way to Ibadan, I think there's a dry port at Moni. I think you can help me out with that name
Moni,
now.
yeah.
I'm always forgetting how it is pronounced.
Is that
but it sounds like Moniola or something like that. So there's a train now going from the Apapa port going to that particular point, so people do not necessarily have to go through this particular route, and that can help decongest this particular road. As I said, it's good to see it like this. It's rare to see it like this. I sincerely hope that if you have cause to use this particular live wire, that your experience is as smooth and as flawless as you're currently experiencing on TV.
Well, absolutely, and as you can see, those two forks, one going to the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, one going towards the Third Mainland Bridge. And that port you're talking about in that stop you're talking about in Oyo State, Ibadan, Oyo State, is Monia. And quite a number of people have talked about the beauty of the travel. The travel time is quite a wonderful one. Well, that's that. So enjoy it, take it in one more time. This is Apapa Oshodi Expressway in Lagos, constructed very, very many years ago, dates back into the 70s, and it was constructed between 1975 and 78 as a major route to Apapa and Tinkan ports.
Well, indeed, when you look at the beauty of that particular road, you know that one of the things that it does is, help this country with revenue. Or while it is a live wire for business, revenue is also, one of the things that particular port does help us do. And one of the ways Nigeria is also looking to, improve its revenue is through its tax reforms. There has been plenty of brouhaha over the proposed tax reform bills when it was sent to the National Assembly. But yesterday, surprisingly, the National Assembly has begun hearing on the tax reform bills. The Senate started its own yesterday. It's going to last 2 days, so it continues today. And it does appear that all has been pretty quiet in the National Assembly, with almost all the eyes having their way or having their say with what we are currently witnessing in the National Assembly. As I did highlight, the hearing continues today. Perhaps we might hear a few dissenting voices, but so far that bill has now been welcomed from what we can hear at the public hearing. Do take a listen.
The 4 tax reform bills.
I think we can bring in the guests
It
now.
is up for further scrutiny by stakeholders. The bills comprising the Joint Revenue Board, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, and the Nigeria Tax Bill have generated concerns across the country following its introduction last year.
So we must begin to think out of the box to bring up a robust, transparent, and a conducive environment for government to bring revenue. This is the future of Nigeria, this tax reform. We must get it right. That's why I said all oversight functions must be closed until we finish with this business.
In a surprising turn of events, the once highly contested tax reform bills received unanimous backing.
Our industry contributes the largest contribution to revenue from taxes. And today what this means is that we're seeking a single tax book that we can relate to and we can work with and we're planning with it. Chairman, I can confirm to you that not just NNPC, the entire oil and gas industry is happy to have this reform that is coming at the right moment today.
As the economy grows, so we must arrive at, we must modernize our tax laws, enhance compliance, broaden the tax base, and create an environment that fosters investment and job creation.
There is hardly a dissenting voice as the general consensus favored the reforms. However, there are a few concerns.
One area that we feel that this committee will address is the area of VAT distribution to subnationals. I would like this committee to adopt and listen to the Governor's Forum on that.
Why we are here also today is to, clarify the perception that the North is against this bill. It's not true. And please, some of these bills that are very beneficial to the country, we should not politicize it.
The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance told the gathering that the president has requested that the lawmakers should produce a workable law for the tax reform bills. Meanwhile, public hearings for the 4 tax reform bills will continue in both chambers in the National Assembly this week. The Christian Association of Nigeria, the Nigeria Immigration Service, the Nigeria Customs, as well as the Federal Inland Revenue Service are among agencies expected to make their presentations on Tuesday. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, so if you also have your own contributions to make, this week will certainly be the week for you to do that before public hearings on the tax reform bills are closed. We'll be looking at this and a host of other issues when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
Strap in your seatbelt and get ready for the air ride.
Every kid is amazing at something, but we call amazing kids Amazinators. Feed your kids with the Golden Penny Amazing Day cereal. It contains protein, fiber, calcium, and vitamin A, which gives your kids the power of 4 to nurture them to greatness. Amazing Day cereal. Nurture their amazing.
Stay confident, stay focused, breathe through it with TomTom. Let me ask you a question. What's holding you back? Is it the pressure of your job, the demands of your education, or your ability to connect with the world? Is it the access to the right information? Are you lost? Is it your location, or where you live, or how far you are away from the opportunities? Maybe it's your language, your culture, or your traditions. Again, I ask you, what's holding you back?
Unlimited data from Airtel 5G Smart Connect. Whoever, wherever you are, stay connected. Stay limitless. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Welcome back. Well, while the controversy on the tax reform bills might have died down, not so the controversies trailing the launch of the autobiography written by Nigeria's former head of state, Ibrahim Babangida, which he launched here in Abuja just last week. There have been quite a number of reactions to the book from different quarters, some coming from the family of late MKO Abiola, some coming from other quarters, but many questioning why it was that the president was also a part of this book launch. Well, we have with us this morning Mr. Bayo Onanuga, who is a special advisor to the president on information and strategy, who was no stranger to some of the events that were detailed in the former heads of state autobiography. Mr. Onanuga, it's good to see you here with us in our studios. Welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm sure that you must have been watching with very keen interest some of the feedback that has now trailed the launch of the former head of state book launch here in Abuja. Which ones have struck you the most?
Well, I think what struck me most was the final admission by the former military president that MK Abiola actually won the election. And I think in the book, we also now publish the results from all the states, which clearly showed that MK Abiola won the election, clearly won the election. And all these towns you read in the papers about assumed winner and all those things, we've now found that they were absolutely unnecessary. Abiola won, free and fair. And so we're now making the admission, although coming very late, because the President Buhari had already done the needful in 2018 by, let me say, canonizing MKO, so to say, by also giving him the highest statue in the land, which means he actually proclaimed him the winner of that election, although he was not sworn in as our president. But I think he already did the justice posthumously to MKO. So for Babangida to now admit 7 years after Buhari had already done the needful, to me, it appears superfluous, but at least, nonetheless, it was still a good admission that MKO Abiola won the election free and fair.
Well, there are those who have been quite upset by that book launch. There are those who are even more upset by how, the people who attended the book launch. I think that the former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, tried to capture the irony of the situation in his book review. He talked about how, you know, former Nadeko, one of the Nadeko chieftains, who is now the president, you know, is right here with one of his former tormentors. He actually used that particular phrase.
Well, I think the former vice president got it wrong. I think Babangida was not really a tormentor of President Tinubu. Don't forget that President Tinubu said in his own extempore speech that he held Babangida as something, that he was the person who actually inspired him to come into politics. You know, when Babangida came in, he was talking about new breed politicians and so on, and Tinubu and many other people who are already technocrats or in private business and so on, all of them came out to participate in politics. That's what brought him in. And Tinubu substituted, he came there to pay him that homage that he inspired him. He was elected as senator under Babangida in 1992 or so, and was there as a senator. Babangida left office in August 1993, and Tinubu was his senator. The tormenting began under General Sani Abacha, when Tinubu tried to reconvene the Senate, along with some of his colleagues in Lagos, at the whole Parliament building, and then he was arrested and some other people were arrested. And at the stage he felt his life was under threat and he had to run out of the country. As a Nadeko activist, again, Nadeko came in after Babangida left to under Sani Abacha. So I would not say Babangida was Tinubu's tormentor-in-chief. I said I even know that Tinubu and Babangida had some relationship while Babangida was in office. So it was not true. It was not his tormentor.
Yeah, so while that might not be, I mean, that little detail might not be true, all of the activism that Nadeko, you know, had to pursue would never have a reason if the elections were never annulled. So he certainly played a great role in the activism, in the rising activism that arose in the wake of the annulment of the June 12 elections. And while, yes, maybe that little detail was not true, there were a number of other details in terms of those who plotted coups, those who removed people from power, and, you know, all of them seated around one table in the same room. That little irony you certainly cannot remove, can you?
Well, you cannot remove that as well. Even former head of state, General Gowon, also had his own story to tell, and so on. The fact is this, for me, and I think for President Tinubu, is now about 30, June 12 was 1993, 32 years ago.
Indeed.
I think as a nation, we need to move, I mean, to forget certain things. So not to totally forget, but to forgive certain injustice in the past. Certain things we have done wrong. You cannot continue to hold grudges, hold resentment against certain people, and then say, no, we will not forget that person. No, you are not God. Babangida is a human being, and he made his own mistakes, even though people are saying that he didn't actually apologize for annulling that election, and he tried to put the blame on General Sani Abacha. That doesn't that you're not there, but as far as President Tinubu is concerned, he came there because he felt, as a former leader, as a person, he's a large-hearted politician. You can see people around him, people who have done some grievous against him in the past. They come back, he embraces them, and so on. I think he came there to just show that, as far as he's concerned, he has moved on. I said, if you look at what has happened after Babangida left office and what General Buhari did in 2018, that settled the Ebola issue. June 12 has been recognized. It's now a national holiday. President Abiola, who was the uncrowned president, everybody now remembers, and if you talk about June 12, your mind goes to that man who was a symbol of that June 12. And for me, even though Abiola was not recognized, was not installed as a leader, President Tinubu was just showing that he's large-hearted and that he has moved on.
Yes, but how do the families who were hurt as a result of the activism, for the many people whose lives were disrupted, for the many people who lost family members, loved ones in that crisis, you know, how do you think that the president can appeal to them. Do you think that it is enough for the president to just attend and say, well, I have forgiven him personally? What about them?
He attended as president of Nigeria. There was a book launched by a former leader of Nigeria, and you see the galaxy of former leaders who also came. General Gowon, President Goodluck, Obasanjo, and Absalom Abubakar, they all came. If President Tinubu had not attended, I can imagine the airline that will come following day, Tinubu snores Babangida book launch. I think he came there because, number one, he's head of state. The launch was done right there in Abuja, where Tinubu sits as president of Nigeria. So I think it owes him something to attend, to just honor him.
Yeah, but you're not making reference to those who still feel very hurt by this.
My own belief is this. I said I was part of that June 12th.
Indeed.
I was also at that book launch. As a human being, I cannot continue to hold grudges against people decades, more than 3 decades after the act. I think it's time for us as a nation to move on. No, you're not going to forget, but you can forgive certain things. Look at Nelson Mandela. He was jailed for so many years and he came out of prison. He forgave those people who put him in jail, who oppressed him, I mean, the leaders of ANC and so on. You can see even Pope John Paul II, somebody who tried to assassinate him, he forgave him. So to me, as a human being, as maybe my own nature, I cannot hold grudges for long. I believe that all of us, even as Christians or Muslims, we have a duty to forgive those who have wronged us. And that's my appeal you cannot unmake what was done. Can you unmake the assassination of Kudas Abiola, for instance? The deed is done. But it's time to forgive. That's the way I see it. President Tinubu came there and said to honor former military leader, not that he has forgotten what happened. In fact, he came there with a speech which he didn't read. Instead, he chose to speak extempore, because he said he wanted to speak more from the heart. He didn't read that speech because he felt General Babangida had already answered some of the nagging questions he wanted to ask him. If he had read his own speech about why did he annul the election, for instance, what was the reasoning? But I said, Babangida may not have given very satisfactory answer to that question. To Nigeria, of course, you can see the way people were attacking him and all kinds of things. But at least for me, the simple fact that, and for President Tinubu, the simple fact that the man admitted finally, and even showed the figures that former MK Abiola won that election, to me, I think that was enough.
Let's go to Lagos. I know Ayo has questions for you.
Thank you, Malkwe. Mr. Ananga, it's good to see you. One of the fondest memories for me, and of course perhaps for you as well, is the journalistic activism, the role that the press played between 1993 and 1999. In fact, maybe even before 1993, because there are those who will say there was a lot of pressure from the media that saw the military decide eventually to evolve and sustain what eventually came to be the Fourth Republic after the truncation of the Third Republic. I know you have some tales to tell, but would you say we have learned our lessons as a people, particularly in terms of what the power of the media to shape narratives and to compel stuff to get done for the people of Nigeria?
Well, that's a very loaded question. As a journalist, I think what keeps some of us worried is that the media has not been doing what it's supposed to do. For instance, you find a lot of things going wrong in the media. You find even some of our coverage, the lack of depth in what we report, the lack of understanding what we report, and sometimes you just find that the media they are not doing the right thing. They're not even asking the right questions about what is going on in our country. And then you find sometimes of sensationalism about events and so on. Even some media platforms thriving on falsehood, and just because they want to have traffic on their side and so on. So this is one of the things going on. The Nigerian press, we were born out of activism right from the First Republic, even before the First Republic, the media played a lot of role, an important role, very pivotal role in our struggle for independence, and we carried this on to the military rule. So in India, I know I found one thing, because I said you were a product. The media was a product of the activism that we saw in the First Republic or even before independence. So, but I said things have totally changed now. We have democracy in place. The media cannot be seen to be pulling down democracy. The media has to be seen as a partner in progress, as a partner of this democratic dispensation. That's the kind of role we should see.
Yeah, you would understand, sir, the challenge of having to glean, literally scavenge for information. Perhaps the challenge sometimes is the fact that the authorities do not communicate as opposed to just giving out information. It is one thing, you know very well, to give out information to people. It's another thing altogether to communicate with the people, because the information people get is not usually what they expect, because they don't feel like they belong in the flow, so to speak. Perhaps the challenge is that authorities don't speak. Authorities don't give information. People have to literally scavenge for information. The trust quotient has greatly reduced over the years. Consequently, whatever government says, people take it with a pinch of salt. Do you see a way to reverse all of that?
No, I don't agree with you. Number one, the laws of the land have made things easier for our profession. We have the Freedom of Information Act. If you go to a public office and they're not willing to give you information, you have a right to formally write that office that you needed that information. And I've seen some media platforms using that law to get information from the public officials. And then there's a proverb that says, seek, ye shall find. Continue to knock on the doors of public officials that you want XYZ information. And I'm sure you will get it. Don't say because somebody has not spoken with you and then you go and paint a wrong perspective about what has happened or about a particular issue. That will be wrong. We need to exercise some patience and just not jump into publishing what has not been authenticated by the right people. I will implore our journalists to be patient at times in publishing news, to at least try to confirm a lot of things. There are so many ways you can confirm. If an official is not willing to talk, maybe you must find a way, you must try to find a way to make sure that you don't just run away with a wrong impression about certain issues. Well, so I said, in summary, the law is there to support us, and we should always try to get information, always knock on doors.
Well, you know that the dynamics, you know that the dynamics have greatly changed over the years. Now there is that so-called citizen journalism where everyone, trained or untrained, so long as you have a phone and you have a camera, you can put out information, irrespective of, whatever it is, whether it is right or wrong, false narratives go out there from time to time. One of which is the case around the tax reform bills, which thankfully, it seems like everyone is on board with at this moment. But what do you think Nigerians need to know about the tax reform bills that probably is not out yet, especially since the public hearing is on?
Well, I think the tax reform bills, the committee that the president set up to reform our tax laws, the committee has been held there without any oaths barred, without holding anything back, to try to tell Nigerians what this law contains. Don't forget, it's 4 bills packed in one, and it's supposed to be a very game-changing tax law that will change so many things in our country, that will be, at the end of the day, to the benefit of this country in terms of revenue that accrue to the states, what will come to the center in terms of having more efficient collection of revenue. It's a shame that our country, look at, as of today, we are not even collecting 10% of our GDP, and I think we are among some of the lowest countries collecting the tax that we want to collect. And this will change once we have the tax laws in place. Everybody's hopeful. You can find out the governors who were initially against it, I think they have been enlightened enough to find that there is nothing really dangerous about the bill. It will favor all parts of the country, all our citizens, and it will be better for all of us.
This was after the adjustments were made. Yeah. Is it because the compromise we reached on VAT?
No, not the compromise. It's just a matter of educating them, enlightening them about what the law contains, so that, and then when they saw everything, they saw the full picture.
No, Mr. Nonuga, we understand that there was actually a readjustment of the VAT sharing formula, which was the bone of contention for the governors who were afraid that the headquarter effect was going to come in. Were it to go ahead the way the tax reform bills had proposed? The
VAT is a proposal. And of course, the tax committee did not expect everything it wrote in that law. We just passed through the parliament as if the parliament is a tabula rasa or something. They expect that they should be scrutinized. So what they did, all the meetings held with the governors forum and the governors also laid their affairs. There's nothing really, they are not saying, oh, we are going to make the VAT 15%, or this distribution pattern, or the what they call the origin, I mean, where the money is coming from and so on. They are saying no. If it even favors them more, if you use MTN service in Kano or so, instead of revenue coming to Lagos, it comes to Kano. I mean, the VAT that will be charged and so on. So the committee was able to allay off council affairs so that people now saw some merit in what is being proposed. That's what is going on.
Yes, while the education was done, I mean, the enlightenment was done, what I'm saying is that we saw the concrete rearrangement of VAT as now being proposed in the new tax reform bills. Wasn't that what contributed to them accepting it?
Well, it may be part of it, but I'm saying that the governors, after some series of sessions with them, all the issues, all the misgivings they had, they were all trashed, and everybody came on board.
Well, politics is beginning to come on board very quickly, and I'm sure that you must have seen one of the president's political allies very quickly. Looks like he's no longer an ally. What is happening with former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai? I mean, he's granted an interview very recently where he's talked about how he was rejected at the National Assembly, and he says that it wasn't the National Assembly that rejected him. It was the president.
Well, I think as a person, I think I will pity former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai.
Pity.
It feels odd that he was not made a minister. I think it's a long time now. The ministers came in August 2023. I think it's time for him to move on. You cannot continue to behave like a child, as if somebody stole your bread and things like that, and then you are crying over a spilled milk, as you say. It's natural for him to feel hurt. It's natural for him to feel bad that he's been excluded. And I think as the president acknowledged in the recent birthday tribute to him, Nasiru actually helped a lot in installing President Tinubu. And if he's not there, it doesn't mean that he must bring down the roof.
No, but clearly something has gone wrong in their relationship. What has happened?
The president hasn't had the most stake in Nasiru. I said Nasiru feels naturally hurt that he has been excluded. And that's why he's going about everywhere campaigning against the president and so on. It shows a man who resented being left out of the moving train and he will not let go. But my advice to him, as a brother, as a former governor, should just appeal to him that he should forget it. He should, if he's not made a minister, he's been in public service since 1999.
You think this is about him being made a minister? Do you think this is about him being made a minister?
I think it started from there. The hurt came from there.
Yes.
But the father was not made a minister. That's why you can see what he's been saying. Even yesterday, in an interview with Arise TV, he made mention of this, saying that it was the president that blocked him and things like that.
But clearly, he is also dissatisfied with how the government is being run, as are many Nigerians. I think
that's his own opinion. Whatever opinion he has about government is personal to him. It does not. It may not. To me, it doesn't reflect reality. This government inherited a lot of problems, and if you look at the figures and everything what we are witnessing, things are getting better. We are certainly not where we were in 2023. This government, this administration, has done a lot of things to re-engineer the economy, and we are seeing the figures. We are seeing the positive figures. We are seeing inflation coming down. We are seeing foreign exchange reserve growing. We are seeing so many positive things.
We're seeing inflation coming down because inflation numbers, I mean, the GDP was rebased. We saw that.
The GDP has not even been rebased. I'm not even talking about what the MBS did. The figures are coming down. What the MBS did also have a new base year for CPI, consumer price index, or so they call it, and then to now say, look, this is the new figure. It does not mean that inflation has really reduced that way. What I'm saying is, if you go to the marketplace, you will find that prices are coming down.
For those Nigerians who still feel who are still, struggling, what would you be saying to them? Because yes, you might be looking at the larger figures, and yes, maybe some aspects of the economy are improving, but many people are still finding it very difficult. What will you say to those people?
Well, I will tell them that, for instance, a practical solution, a practical suggestion to them. If you are doing a job, let's say you are an office assistant and you are earning the minimum wage or something, you must try to find something else to augment your income. You cannot live on one income. The Americans have a term they call moonlighting. People work in offices or they do so many jobs and they find that one line of income cannot sustain them. They need to find something else to augment it. If you have a farmland near you, cultivate it, grow your crops and so on, so they can reduce your expenses and so on. These are some of the things I think, practical things that people can do to survive the present economy. People just have to find solutions on their own to do this.
Well, I wish we had more time, to take on some of the other issues. So we have to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Mr. Bayo Onanuga is a special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. Thank you once more for coming on Sunrise Daily. Well, we'll be changing gears to one area that has proven to be quite a challenge, and that is the area of aviation. Ayo has details.
Well, whatever it is that you know about aviation, I think there is definitely a history to it. But in recent time, the challenges faced by airline operators due to the recent increase in ground handling charges by ground handling companies, SACO to be specific, and NACO, that's Skyway Aviation Handling Company and the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, are some of the issues we want to look at this morning. Well, forms part of our conversation this morning with Mr. Chris Aligbe, who is a former GM Corporate Affairs, Nigeria Airways. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about Nigeria Airways for just a tiny bit. I know that, I mean, you are the spokesperson. You were the spokesperson. You know, what memories does it give you?
Well, thank you very much. Memories. Memories on an airline that had great hopes, great challenges, but at some point, government was not ready to face the challenges. It was completely owned by government, 100%, and the government knew why the airline was stuttering, why it was failing. But then it was not at the point of liquidation, because the government, the effort Obasanjo administration made to revive the airline by appointing IFC as a transaction advisor for the privatization was very great. But after IFC submitted its 147-page report stating that the airline was in a fit state for privatization and advised against liquidation or turnaround. There were three options they had: liquidation, turnaround, and privatization, and advised that the airline should never be liquidated, and said the turnaround option would take quite a long time and more money from government, and they advised on privatization. The government accepted this report at FEC, at all the levels, at the level of the ministry, but then suddenly, from nowhere, the Obasanjo administration, who appointed IFC, completely undermined all the recommendations. And the IFC, in response, decided to quit. They even decided to return the $400,000 paid to them. But Obasanjo said, no, you've done your job. It's your place to make recommendation. It's my place to decide. And so the people left. That's memory one has of and at the time of liquidation, you know, the airline assets were 4 times the liabilities. 4 times. So if a private man had that company, he would take some of the assets, sell some of the assets to clear the liabilities. But it didn't happen. All the assets were thrown up in a bazaar, as it were. So that's why. But the painful memory that I have today is that hundreds of thousands of my colleagues have died waiting for their pension.
I'm sincerely hoping that a day and time will come where we can review some of these, particularly in the light of reviving the airline or aerospace in Nigeria. But one of the issues that we would like to discuss with you today is about the airline operators' recent increase in the ground handling charges. Did this situation, was this an issue back in the day?
No, it wasn't, because there was only one handling company in the early days, NACO. NACO was owned basically by FAN and had investment into it by foreign airlines. But that eventually was passed out, and NACO became a fully private organization, and it was considered that airlines should not be investors in NACO. They thought there was a conflict of interest. There would be a conflict of interest. Then Nigeria Airways had its own ground handling company. It was called then SACOL, Sky Power Aviation Handling Company. But then eventually, during the process of privatization, when the airline was liquidated, that SACOL was not liquidated. It had become a company, as it were, and it eventually came to the point that they thought that it was best to privatize it, and the company was privatized. They eventually, after a great revival of that company, it moved from, it's down to this Sky Power Skyway Aviation Handling Company.
Yeah.
It was bought into or owned today by CFAX. And that's what it is.
Well, clearly, it seems like this challenge, this is a significant challenge for airline operators. What do you make of it?
What kind of significant challenge?
You don't think it is a significant challenge?
No, there must be handling companies. Okay. If there are no handling companies...
It's the increase I'm talking about, the increase in the ground handling charges.
Kenny, has there not been increases everywhere? Airline fares have increased, fuel costs have increased, forex, this thing have moved, everything has increased. Charges, fan charges, everywhere, everybody has increased fares. So ground handling company is also in business, and they have to stay in business.
But you do realize that the cost naturally goes to the consumer.
Cost naturally goes to consumer?
Yes.
What cost does not go to consumer in the airline operations? What cost? Is it fuel cost? JT1? Is it what cost? Is it forex cost? What cost does not go to consumer? The airlines pass every cost they have, they pass it to the consumer. So it's not a rare thing when you say cost in the aviation chain that it goes to consumer. It goes to consumer, even in the land local transport. Cost goes to consumer.
But you do know, of course, that over time, airline operators have been complaining about this, costs of everything, which naturally could, lead to they themselves cutting down on certain service deliveries, passing cost to the customer, cutting down on some things that could jeopardize the lives of their passengers?
See, when you are in business, you take a holistic look of cost implications of the business you're going into. You know that there must be ground handling companies to handle your aircraft, otherwise there won't be flight operations. But you don't expect a company within the loop to subsidize your operations. The challenges, obviously, airlines, like in other sectors, they have challenges. Some challenges coming from outside, some challenges coming from within. So, and ground handling is not one of the big cost elements in airline operation. The first cost element in airline operation is aviation fuel. And so when you look at, in fact, handling companies are small in the scheme. So when you leave the big cost elements to try to handle this thing, one in the loop that is trying to survive the way you're trying to survive. Because ground handling companies, all their equipments are imported, none is manufactured here. They need forex, training are foreign training, and it's a very, very professional area because any little damage to an aircraft by a handling company is a major problem. So they need forex, they need to train their staff, and they need to survive. It is all the challenges that airlines are facing in the aviation sector, in the operations, are virtually all the challenges that ground handling companies are facing. So when you look at your own challenges, you cry about it. The smaller organization, you want to pick it up. It's like in a fight, you leave a big man and take the small boy and beat the person. They can't lynch these ground handling companies. They are not the major cost element.
The question that anyone will be asking you right now is, on whose side are you? The minister or the airlines or the people?
I'm on the side of justice.
And what is justice in this case?
Justice is that the finger you are pointing, the place you are pointing on the finger is not the major cost of operation. It's not the major cost. There are major costs. There are about, if you list them, about 10 critical cost elements. You find that ground handling companies is at the lowest ebb. It's not as much as they're talking. And what's changing? If you know, to handle a 737, 75,000 naira. That's no. This has been the cost. 75,000 is not even up to minimum wage that an aircraft flies in, drops, and you have about 5 or 6 staff personnel handling that, handling the preparation for the aircraft for another flight. You have all the equipment to bring out luggage, all the equipment to do it. You see that this is so much. When you hear 75,000 naira, it doesn't make anything. It's not even enough for man. I mean, when you calculate the man hours, you get to the point of maybe 200 naira per man hour. It doesn't work.
So you think the money, even the increase, is not enough?
As far as I'm concerned, how much, what's the percentage increase? That is the issue. When people talk about the airline operation, operators, those who are going to have a 600% increase, it is not true. You see, what has happened in the industry is that when we go to the public, we feed the public with lies. And that is, it's painful because our industry now is lies everywhere. And then people don't decipher the truth. Check, if anybody comes here and say, the increase is 600%, please ask that person to give you a calculation. I know that the increase is about 300%. It's about, because from 75,000, it's about 280, 290 per 737. But when you check the job, the work that goes into it, the number of people that are involved, the equipment that are used, whether the fuel, every cost, like I say, whatever affects airlines in airline operation in terms of cost, even Forex affects ground handling companies.
Do you think there was any conversation between the operators and the ground handlers?
Yes.
If there wasn't, perhaps that would be the issue.
No, there's been conversation. Maybe they didn't come to terms about the cost. The airlines, we want a lower cost, but the ground handling companies say, we have to survive the way you are battling to survive. When you're talking about cost, during Christmas period, during festive period, people paid 500, 700, 600,000 for flights, which is not what it should be. It is not ground handling company didn't increase their charges when these things were happening. So for you to come and say it is ground handling companies that are causing pass to the customers, costs have been passed so much to the passengers on some acceptable grounds and some very, very ludicrous grounds. But it was not the ground handling companies. That's what I'm saying.
So you're essentially saying also that the uproar that followed the increase is unfounded?
The uproar that followed the increase is unfounded, because of the lies surrounding it. But the fact that the man as operator, everybody wants a lower price. Me, as a passenger, I want lower fare. So everybody wants lower fare. The airlines also are in a position to say we want lower fares. But you cannot kill your ground handlers who is in the loop of airline operation because you want it. In fact, the ground handlers are subsidizing the airlines. They cannot keep subsidizing the airlines. They are not government organizations. They're private, because what they charge 737 international operations, they are not charging it for local operators. That's a way of subsidy.
Okay. So do you see a role for any government agency in this conversation?
No, I don't see a role for the prices are deregulated. NCAA is doing its best. What NCAA is doing is say, look, I'm the regulator. I regulate people, come together, try and reach an agreement.
Okay.
NCAA cannot and will not determine prices, just like it doesn't determine for airlines, because the industry is deregulated. So we're in a deregulated market.
I think Malcolm has just one question for you. Malcolm, go ahead quickly.
So essentially, are you saying, sorry, Mr. Ligwe, are you saying that you know, the ground handlers should be able to charge as they please? Because we understand that they did try to increase their charges, but the minister did tell them that, you know, they should hold fire given the uproar that greeted it. Have they been able to make a concrete case to the minister and also the NCA, who's the regulator?
The minister told them, because the minister has a responsibility to ensure industrial peace. And that's why he weighed in. Not that MINSA can control the market is deregulated. NCAA is doing what it should do by saying, look, come together, try to agree, so that at least the industrial peace will remain. But the fact of the matter is that the ground handlers have their charges, they have their own challenges. It's just because they're the back door. We don't know what challenges they have. But all I'm saying is that every challenge experienced by the airlines are the same challenges being experienced by ground handlers. All their equipments are imported. They need forex. The maintenance are here. They need forex. And with the rising cost of it, they have to address their staff. You can start this thing with new minimum wage. Everything is increasing, so we cannot keep them down and say, look, don't increase so that others will do. They cannot subsidize the operations of the airlines. And some of the airlines are...
advocacy. Mr. Ligwe, who's your advocacy to this morning? Who precisely are you appealing to?
I'm on the side of justice and fair play. If...
Indeed. Even in matters of justice, there is a judge who dispenses justice. So who are you appealing to?
Who am I appealing to? All that I'm saying is that let us put the facts down. Let us put the facts, because what is happening, the facts are not down. If you put the facts down, in the court of public opinion, we know that we say, look, this is the situation, that is the situation. For now, the ground handling companies are being swallowed as it were, because they are a smaller body. But the fact of the matter is that in business, if we kill ground handling companies, we kill airline operations. That's what I'm saying. I don't want airlines operations to be killed, and I don't want ground handling companies to be killed, because they are all in the loop. They are in the chain of operations. Any day, ground handling companies stop handling, then there will not be any operation.
Well, it's clearly there is a lot more to handle on this matter. We have to thank you for now about this particular issue. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Hopefully to have you again to talk about some other issues, particularly in the aviation sector. Thank you so much for your time. Chris Aligwe is a former GM Corporate Affairs, Nigerian Airways. Again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I guess that's the much of the show we can take today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your messages. And see you tomorrow. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Indeed, I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf, looking to serve you again tomorrow. Goodbye.